And it is episode 205 of the Metal
And
Roundtable.
somebody,
Metal.
somebody tell us what's weird about this now. I'll sit back and listen. Oh, yes, you are Metal Rob. I'll let you do your thing.
Yes. I am Metal Rob, and with me as always is the great
Carcass John. I don't know how great I am, but yes, I'm here.
But if they made a dictionary about metal, there would be Scott and this dude.
Yes.
Steve is Rebel.
Anybody that can tell us what an Obi strip is and know what they're talking about.
It's an Obi, not an Obi strip.
Oh. See?
Not an OBI.
Not an OBI.
I still slip and say that sometimes because I used to say Obi strip years ago. And I got corrected when I was living in Japan. And now.
All I know is that my albums and my CDs better have one.
They look pretty.
I got a stray beard here. It's driving me crazy right over here.
It's driving me crazy there, big fella. We're having the battle of the beards.
Yes, thank you very much. You'll be winning soon. To kick off the show, I am filling in actually for Scott today instead of somebody filling in for me or somebody else not being here or whatever. So I'm filling in for Scott. Happy to be here. You can follow me on Instagram at Metal Robs Records. You can follow me on TikTok, Metal Robs Records, all those things. You can follow the Carcass on Instagram at Carcass John Art. And if you go to YouTube and search Harmless Rebel, you will come up with the greatness sitting down there. And you got shout outs today, boys?
That's interesting. We're going to talk about we're going to kind of scattershoot today. And man, I'll tell you what, shout out to anybody in a band because it's hard to make a living in a band, but it's just a tough life, man. And you got to really love what they're doing. And Saturday, and we'll get into this later, I mean, there was a ton of bands at this show we went to, and they all were digging it, man. They were loving playing music, and I think that's anybody that asks me. I have people ask me all the time, hey, we're starting a band, can you give us any advice? And I would just tell them, you better love to do it, man, because if you're looking to make a big bank on this, then you're doing it for the wrong reason. Just love to play.
Job.
It's almost like it was back in the 80s and 90s for everybody, because even the guys that are on major labels aren't getting the money and the support that they used to, and they're in the vans driving from state to state, just like we did back in the day when we were nobodies,
Well, to your point, I remember I used to kind of I would trek back and forth between here and California, and one of my friends, Mike Bonaventura from an Orange County, California band called Attacks, he would sometimes tech for Phil Demmel of Violence. And I remember Phil saying, yeah, I've got a couple of jobs lined up this week. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, you're the guitarist for Violence. You just put out Eternal Nightmare, man, one of the greatest thrash records ever. And he's like, no, I'm he was like a carpenter, a framer, and was painting somebody's bathroom. And I'm like, man, this is kind of like the old days where, I mean, and guys in our scene, heck, we have a principal of a school, we have English teachers, we have guys that do photography, guys that are farmers. It's crazy, but you basically play for the fun of it. But
some of these guys, they'll play for 5,000 people one night and 30 people the next night. It's definitely not like it was back in the heyday.
Like Scott Beatley says, being in a band is simultaneously the best and worst thing to do with your free time. That's freaking awesome.
I'm glad Scott's here because I think I can say with about 99.9% certainty that his participation in the show has directly caused the reissue of the Damaged Faith album plus bonus tracks next year. In the early next year. I'm very, very, very excited about that. So I'm glad to have run across Scott on the show and exchanged messages real quick. But Steve, you got any shout outs?
Now I'll kind of cover my story when we talk about concerts.
Okay, cool. I'm going to very, very, very quickly run through some stuff that I picked up. I think the last time I was on the show about a month ago, I think I showed the Coney Hatch. It took me a long time to track this down, and I didn't realize the song called Hey Operator on here. I had been listening to the cover version for 20, 30 years that Aldo Nova did on his Subject album. I didn't know that was a Coney Hatch song. Picked up Tall Stories, however you want to, there we go. AOR, but I dig it. Been looking for that. I did not go see Metallica when they were in Arlington, but I did buy the 2-disc set or 4-disc set because I want to hear it. So I'm going to hear it. I picked up a nice gold disc edition. My buddy found this and let me have it.
That thing sounds amazing. Have you played it?
No, I haven't even played it yet.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Set up your system, sit down in the chair and crank it up because it sounds amazing.
And I'm going to save one for last because I want Steve's unbridled opinion on something. I picked up the Mithra Destiny CD. Very glad to have that. I don't even remember where I found that. I have been looking for this. Carcass, you're going to pass out. I've been looking for this for a decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that once or twice.
And you give me grief about Ozric Tentacles.
Yep. This includes the Rough House album. And no kidding, about a month ago, 2 months ago at work, a dude brings me a vinyl record of this. He's like, man, you ever heard of this? I brought this. You can have it. And I'm like, yes, sir. I sure have. Party Hardy.
Is that the Canadian tease? Or
I believe I knew it. Rock Candy. I believe this is a bootleg, but it is very good glam metal. Right out now on Heaven and Hell Records, the brand new reissue of Vendetta. Also very good.
Obviously metal. Not the German Vendetta.
No. My buddy in Pennsylvania sent me these, and I could not be happy. Actually, no. This is a King Fowley auction.
Oh, wow.
That I won.
That's a killer record.
Yeah, man.
One of the guys that I do a Friday night live stream with was in Pile Driver for a while.
Oh, no shit. Oh, that's cool. So I'm glad to have this. I'm always trying to find stuff on CD that I had on vinyl. But my buddy in Pennsylvania hooked me up with 3 gems on CD that are kind of hard to find. Got me that one. Intruder.
Oh, that rips.
Hang on. I just happen to have right here. This is one of the records I was going to show because they just reissued all of these on vinyl.
Oh, perfect.
They were over 100. They were in the $100 to $150 range. All of the Intruder albums, they all got repressed, and I've been playing the shit out of them for the last.
Dude, that thing shreds. That's a underrated. Aren't they from Nashville or something?
I don't know. I haven't even heard it yet.
I believe they are.
They do a cover of Chicago's 25 to 6 to 4 that will just blow your doors off, man. That thing, I love that
albums
record.
And the EP all just got released. They're all fantastic. If you're into thrash, they're all must-haves.
And it is relentless thrash.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I got this.
Oh, dude, I love that album.
So some of these I've never heard, but I know they're classic metal albums, and my buddy sent them, and I was really, really stoked. Let me get to some comments here. Oh, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that.
Hey, by the way, wait, before you go any further, that tease, was that the Canadian tease? Or is that the somebody else?
I thought they were from like Chicago or something.
Okay. Oh, maybe they are.
Oh, that's Lower Canada.
I was going to say that's south of Moose Jaw.
I honestly don't know.
Okay, no big deal.
But last, but certainly. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Let me get to a couple other things real quick. I promise I'll go fast. Stone Horses opened up for Brother Kane. You need to check this out if you like Stone Trip, Great White, Brother Kane, that kind of just American bluesy rock and roll. You will totally dig this. Talking to him, I'll tell it later. Yeah, I'll tell it later.
Yeah.
Boone's Overstock's got a new sampler, and then a few things I worked on. Extraction from Mortality by Believer. Got my
Oh, wow.
copy.
And I can't wait to get those on vinyl.
Believer, what is that one? I said Dimensions. This is what
Yeah.
Extraction from Mortality.
Yep.
And
Sanity Obscure.
worked on Stuck Mojo.
And I did talk to Corey from Stuck Mojo. We're trying to find a Tuesday where he's available to do the stream. So
Awesome.
Dude, that'd be awesome too.
Gold
Yeah.
Disc Edition. And Art of Anarchy, which features Scott Stapp and oh gosh.
I don't think that's a selling point, Rob.
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
You forgot the grief you took.
I think Bumblefoot is on this too, maybe. I can't remember. But I have to know your opinion, Steve.
I haven't listened to it.
It is a great, great Dokken album.
I was really hesitant after he released his Lost Tracks or whatever a couple years ago, and it's one of the worst albums that I've ever bought.
I really, really like it. The music is top-notch Dokken. He throws a song on the end that doesn't make any sense. But man, it's top-notch Dokken. I love the music. His voice is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not going to bag on him, because I'm a huge.
I've liked most of the Dokken. The only Dokken album that I didn't like was that last one before the band split in the early. What was the one in the '90s with the psychedelic cover?
Yeah, Shadow Life.
Yeah, I think that's it. That's the only Dokken album. No, even that one I don't mind. No, it's right when what's his name left the band. It was like their fourth album. Nope, I got that one too.
Oh, hang on.
That's after. Those are all after what's his name left the band. Yeah, there it is. That one.
Dysfunctional. I think that one's all right.
That's the only album of theirs I don't really like. I've got everything else. So
got some good songs on it, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that Lost Tracks I was expecting a lot though, because I love that first single that they did in '78 or '79, and I like that. I've got that the CDs of those their first couple performances in the early '80s that are fantastic. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a bad album.
So, can I tell a story real quick?
Sure.
So Richie and I go to Little Rock a couple weeks ago to barbecue for Exodus. And when I say we went to barbecue, I mean I went to look pretty and Richie brought badass barbecue. Well, Zetro is a huge barbecue guy, blah, blah, blah. We'll get into all that later in the show. But we got there and we had a mix up with our rooms because I insist, and Richie agrees that we need to have separate rooms because we both snore like freaking tractors. And so we get there and our room keys are messed up. Well, one room had a king size bed and one room had two queen beds in it. So we ended up with backwards rooms, but it didn't matter. So mine had the queen beds in it. So he's been calling me his queen ever since.
Boy.
I would say that story too.
He just calls me Queenie or his queen or whatever. So I don't care. I think it's funny. Metal does rule. Done Dokken. That's a funny joke, but I love Dokken.
Francisco.
I also love.
He's always going to bring the goods.
Yes.
Tony Cheka. I think I got him from. Is it Miami Metal Merchant? I believe is a website. I believe that's where I got the Intruder from.
Okay, cool. So who wants to tell the first concert story?
Well, I'll show.
I was going to show a couple things that I picked up here.
Yeah, do it.
I've been on kind of a tape binge, so I picked up these Dream Unending. They're a relatively old band, but these are members of Tomb Mold and some others. I picked up a Hyperdontia EP from Denmark. Guys rule.
Tomb Mold is the new Osric Tentacles for you.
Correct. They are brilliant.
They're
amazing. In fact, I never thought that I would get to see them. Of course, I never thought we'd get to see Mortuous either. And we saw them in Salt Lake City, of all places, just on a random because we were out there to see a football game, and they just happened to be playing at a place out there. Anyway, Aces High Saloon, and but they're going to be at the Austin Metal Fest with Tomb Mold, Mortuus, Mortiferum, Tribal Gaze. I mean, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. So, yeah, but Hyperdontia, if you love good old Swedish death metal, these guys are from Denmark, but they emulate that old Therion sound, the Sentence, one of the first two records. Gravesend from New York. It's a combo of black and thrash and hardcore. Really dig it. Ulthar, and this is the side A, or this is the first volume of a 2-volume set, and it has 6 songs on it, or 8 songs on it, and the other one has 2.
What kind of music is it, Carcass?
Huh?
What kind of music is it?
It's gurgling and gargling,
yes.
Just like I like, but it's technical and it's fast, and then I couldn't resist the Mighty Suffocation. That's part of what we're talking about today. I saw them on Thursday. They played all new songs except for one, and they absolutely destroyed. So they were sold out of the vinyl, so I bought the tape. I thought that was the next best thing. Also there with Suffo was Skeletal Remains, and this is Condemned to Misery, which is one of my favorite ones from them. And they had it in this special slipcase pack and an orange cassette. So anyway, I've been cheaping it a little bit because as we get into our concert talk, man, it is really, really, really expensive to see even like local metal things. But
dude, the tickets are getting ridiculous.
But Steve-O, show your wares there, and then we'll get into the.
Yeah, somebody mentioned this series last week, the Magnetic Eye tribute albums that are going on.
Sure.
This is the Dirt Redux. It's all doom and sludge bands.
Wow.
Doing Alice in Chains, and the biggest. I mean, most of these aren't big bands, but Chemist is the biggest band on here. But fantastic! This whole album is killer. I think I mentioned they've done an AC/DC one. They've done a Black Sabbath. They've done a few bands, the Soundgarden, where they take an album and it's all doom and sludge covers of everything on the album.
Didn't they do a Hendrix one too?
I haven't seen the Hendrix one, but if I find it, I'll grab it.
It's got Wofat and Mothership and some local.
Oh, cool.
Stoner rock hero.
No, I'll have to find that one because I think one of the other ones has Mothership's done a couple of them, but
I know Henry did the one on the AC/DC, but
I ran across this. I didn't have it on vinyl, so I've been playing that quite a bit. And then these two, this one just came in. I got this yesterday. They did a 25th anniversary run of Evil Never Dies from Toxic Holocaust.
Oh yeah.
Just a fantastic album. Been playing this one nonstop.
Notice he's wearing a Rigor Mortis shirt, the zombie on the cover.
Yeah. I did. And then I might have showed this a couple weeks ago. I can't remember, but I've been playing this a lot too. But Wrathchild America.
Yes.
Yep,
I've been
did show that
on vinyl for about 10 years and finally found a copy. So
I got to see them live, man.
Oh, nice. Where at? In your area or up in Baltimore?
With Pantera and Prong, I think.
Oh, wow. When was that?
At the Arcadia Theater. It has since burned down. But
was that in the 90s?
Yeah, that was on I think it was either late Cowboys or early maybe Vulgar Display.
Okay.
When you could still see them in a theater.
Yeah. I'd have loved to see Carcass back then. That was them and Sepultura were probably my two favorite bands in the early to mid 90s. And that was one of the few bands I didn't get to see that I really loved.
Yeah, I got a few, but it's water under the bridge now. I'm never going to see Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
And then some of the classic bands, ZZ Top, never saw them.
What?
So we're going to hop into a little bit of concert talk, Carcass?
Sure.
All right. So I'll throw out one real quick, and then we can work our way back around. 2 weeks ago, Richie and I went out to Little Rock to see Exodus because he was barbecuing for him, and we catered that, and it was super fun. I I cannot believe how high energy Zetro is. And also, that dude is a 10 out of 10 host. He was so gracious to us. He's a big barbecue freak, and so he and Richie had tons to talk about, and it was cool. But of course, they took really good care of us. But and that's a story for another time. We got to talk to him and Gary and all the guys. Talked to Jack for quite a while, and Tom told us a story about his F-150 pickup ending up in Germany. I gotta try to get him on. It's a great story, so I'll see what I can do. But anyway, dude came right up to us, started telling us the story. But to talk about the show, Carcass, you need to get out pen and paper. There was a band, a death metal band from Rochester, New York, called Undeath, and they were pretty freaking cool, man.
Yeah, I've got their album sitting right over here somewhere. They're one of the
nice guys, played their butts off, and you could just tell they're one of those van and crossing the country, bands. And it was awesome to meet those dudes and hear their set. But Carcass, I think you would dig it. Just pretty raw death metal.
Yeah, I have their EP and their full length, and they just released a live album.
Ah, beautiful. Okay.
Yeah, and they're punishing. There's a lot of up and comers in the death metal scene, not just Tomb Mold and Blood Incantation, but like Frozen Soul, Creeping Death, Tribal Gaze, and one that I saw on Thursday I'll tell you about from Houston. But
awesome. So next up on the bill was a band that I had never seen. I had heard of them, but I didn't know anything about them. And I really felt stupid because I was talking to the guitar player, Mike, and that was Darkest Hour. And they've been around for almost 30 years. And I had no idea. I knew about the band, but I didn't really know anything about them. You know what I mean? I'd heard of them. They dominated. They absolutely crushed it.
Who was it?
Darkest Hour
T-shirts, which was really nice.
Oh yeah, I want to see them. They they've been around. 90, 91, 92, something like that.
Something like that.
So how would you describe them though, stylistically? How would you describe them?
And they have their own sound.
It's at the heart of it. I want to say metalcore, but a little. I don't know, a little heavier, kind of traditional heavy.
Because the last time I saw them, they were the headliner, and it was Machine Head and Arch Enemy and Throwdown. I don't know if you heard of Throwdown before, but I couldn't believe they were the headliner, but because I'd never heard of them either. I felt kind of silly, but
yeah.
And I was there to hang out with Arch Enemy and Phil was playing in Machine Head at the time, Phil Demo.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were. You can always tell when bands are experienced because they're super polished. They're very technical. They load in a pile of gear, and that someone's looking at them and saying, we're going to supply all their stuff because they're going to be seen every night. But
they were one of the bands that really kind of crossed over because they started off as kind of like a metalcore band, but then they started adding some thrash in there.
Yes,
they got a little mellow death in there that they mix in and kind of put together a cool sound.
Would they be compatible? Would they be compatible to Unearth or something similar to that?
Yeah. Yeah, when I was talking to Mike about it, he said, "Yeah, we're kind of a." There's some core in there. And I was like, okay, so Unearth, and he emphatically shook his head. Yes. So yeah, if you like Unearth, you would dig Darkest Hour. And then Exodus came out, did a blistering co-headlining 50-minute set. Just fantastic. They played Bonded by Blood. They played new songs. They played, they were kind of all over. But they were so good, well-oiled machine. I mean, it's the Overkill, Motorhead, AC/DC effect. You know exactly what you're going to get, and you're stoked to just get a gut full of it. Man, they were good. And So they did business and just crushed it. And then, not my scene. I haven't listened to much of these guys. I didn't know anything about them, but the headliner was Fit for an Autopsy. And
that's such a great band name.
It is. Yeah. And that's not, from what I could tell, it's not really my flavor of metal, but let me tell you, they were pro and they put on a 10 out of 10 show. They blew the roof off of that place. They were so good.
They're another band that's well seasoned. They probably do 180 shows a year.
Yeah.
They're not on the biggest bills, but they're on bills that travel. Like I saw them at in fact, I remember when my daughter was in town, Carcass Spawn, we were the whole family, we were over at another gig at the Rail Club when it was still open, and Marin said, "Hey, Fit for an Autopsy's at Amplified, and I'm paying for everybody's seat if you want to go." And 4 of us raced over there to Amplified Live and saw them, and man, it was worth the drive.
Yeah,
they were like you said, Rob. They were impressive.
Absolutely impressive. I was surprised that Exodus played in front of them, but I asked him about it, and he said, "Man, the crowd that we're getting on this tour, we're getting the Exodus fans." And they're staying for Fit for an Autopsy and vice versa. The Fit for an Autopsy fans are staying, are watching Exodus and then staying for Fit for an Autopsy. He's like, "Man, we're getting a whole new crowd and they're just loving it." And so,
well, and I think the split between the core, because Fit for an Autopsy is another band that started off as a core band and they've moved more progressive and more, probably progressive death more than anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of those bands, Darkest Hour is another one, now that they're bringing in more traditional metal, they're picking up a new audience that wouldn't have listened to them back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Guys came out,
It was really cool. The venue was really nice. In Little Rock, God, I can't remember it. It was called the Venue or the Hall or the something like that. Great venue, pro staff. I know there's no way any of them are watching this, but man, they treated us like kings, and that was good. So, all right, somebody else go.
Okay. Last Thursday night, the Queen and I had the chance to go see Incantation, Suffocation, Skeletal Remains, and one of my new favorite bands called Stabbing. And we got there just as Stabbing was going on. They're a 4-piece band from Houston, and it's comprised of a female lead singer, a female shredding guitarist, and then 2 young bucks playing drums and bass. And they absolutely had us by the throat and were top notch. It was top notch death metal, old school 4-piece death metal. And we really, really, really dug it. And then Skeletal Remains, they're another one of those kind of a newer band, but have kind of a niche audience. You see them a lot on those big bills with Cannibal Corpse, Lamb of God, whatever. And dude, they you can tell those dudes are pros too. Young kids from San Diego, but really, really good. And then I was shocked because I thought Suffocation was a done deal and they were retired. I know that Frank had retired. And so they had a new guy playing drums and a new guy playing guitar. And it was Terrence Hobbs and a new drummer, new singer, and a new guitarist, and no bass player. And they still slayed. It was unbelievable. I kept thinking, I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was that good. And I think it's because they have riffs. They still have riffs. And they had the breakdowns and all that. And you will not notice any difference between Frank and this new singer. I think his name is Rick Myers. And I was blown away. I thought it was that good, and it's good enough to want to hear 9 new songs. And I think they played Effigy of the Forgotten or something, and then from their old back catalog, but everything else was new, and they were freaking awesome. And then of course Incantation, I had just seen them not too long ago with Obituary and Exhumed and Blood Incantation, and they are probably the purveyors of early American death metal scene, and they've been around 35 years, maybe 40. and they were very impressive too. Very well heeled. It got to the point where everything started to sound a little alike, but I had a disadvantage because the queen wanted to get in the pit, which don't tell her doctor because she's still a few months away of when she's supposed to have physical activity like that. So I may be tipping my hand, but I hope she doesn't punch me in the arm. But anyway, I was kind of standing off to the side, just kind of keeping an eye on things. And dude, they were, once again, it's all about the riff. And yes, there were solos, and yes, there were breakdowns, but it's the riff that was so captivating about the whole night. So super successful Thursday night. We had some ducats that we didn't have to pay for, so it was even better. But that's where this thing with the merch just shocked the crap out of me, because I wanted to support stabbing. Rob and I are a lot alike, Steve. We will buy merch even if we don't eat lunch for the next 3 days or 4 or maybe 2 weeks. But the thing is I bought 2 shirts from the stabbing band, and I said, "How much are they?" And she kind of looked away. Bridget is her name, the vocalist. And she said, they're like $42.36 a piece. And I'm just like, how much? Because they have tax, and now they're applying fees just like they do with the tickets.
Every venue now does.
It's like the book is free, but the cover's $11.95.
And they do, some of the venues do up to 50%.
Well, they were doing 25% there. And I'm not going to mention the venue because I actually like the venue, but it was incredible. And so I bit the bullet, and I paid $42.36, including tax, for each shirt. But
a lot of the time, people don't realize it. A lot of time, it's not even the venue, because even the smaller venues sell through Ticketmaster now, and a lot of time it's Ticketmaster that's making the venues do it, and they're having to give a cut to Ticket. I mean, it's insane what's going on.
It's totally insane, and part of the reason why I love metal is because it's affordable. It's not affordable anymore. And these are not, I mean, it's not like we're seeing Metallica and paying $2,000 a ticket, but even that's just stupid ridiculous, in my opinion. But, we gladly did it. Something that Steph had mentioned to me, she said, I noticed that you always want to put something in their tank. And she said, I never thought about that. And I said, well, that's what I do is I'll tip them just so they have a little extra gas money, because, even though gas is cheaper than it was 2 or 3 years ago, it's not cheap. And it costs a lot of money to drive a van and a trailer from city to city. So once again, people need to drink less and buy more if you want to see your band, if you want your bands to succeed.
What a lot of bands are doing now too. I know I just saw that, it's one of the, oh my God, one of the Psychobilly bands. I just saw on their Facebook page, they won't be selling merch at the booth because all the venues want 40 to 50%. So they're doing pre-order merch that they'll bring and give you at the venue, so that the venue can't take a cut of it.
Yeah,
I noticed. Otherwise, they can't afford the tour.
Well, and you know what? Stabbing had some. They had some they called it a pre-sale where they were out in the parking lot, and where people were showing up early and buying right out of the van. And I guess I shouldn't say that either. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but I mean, I don't think that I've ever paid $40 for a shirt and have it be a short sleeve. I mean,
when you figure it's an opening band, they're not getting much from the actual store, So where they get their money is their merch, and when you have the venues jacking half of it, I mean, it's insane.
And I don't even understand. If I owned a venue, I can't imagine going to the band. The band is bringing people to your venue,
right, to buy your drinks and to buy your food. And
you got to get it promoted and all that, but I don't get it. Are they in turn giving them, half the booze and half the food?
No, and I guarantee you they're not. In fact,
and they're jacking the prices up because concerts have been going through the roof lately.
Well, I was talking to Rob Doom down in Houston today. He said, Hey, Possessed is playing Trees, and I'll say it in public. I don't like that venue because of that very reason. I worked merch for Steve and the guys from Demolition Hammer, and there was nothing in their contract that said that we take a percentage, but I knew that the guys took a percentage. So I had monies in one hand and everything else in my pocket. And when I told the guy, yeah, we sold about $500 worth of stuff, I know it wasn't true because it was more like $2,500 worth of stuff. But the guy wanted to take 25%. And Steve is like, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that we had.
It's more expensive because of the gas prices and hotel prices right now. And then now they're taking a cut of everything that what little the band was getting, they're taking a cut of now. So I went to a doom metal festival here in Atlanta last year. High on Fire didn't even set up a merch table because of that. They were like, screw you, we're not going to give you nothing. So,
and I know they sell tons because Henry's been out with them, and he's asked me to work behind the table for them, and he said, get ready to be so busy that, and he was right. I mean, it was thousands of dollars in merch. Those guys sell a ton of stuff, shirts and vinyl and cassettes, but yeah, if it's getting to that point where guys don't even set up, that's frightening.
Somebody was telling me yesterday about some band setting up across the street from the venue with a couple of tables.
That's
just right across the street.
Do it old school.
And they don't even care what the venue thinks,
Yeah.
So yeah, I hate that. I would like to know how that started, why venues think they can do that. Maybe there's something I'm missing. But another thing that I'd like to get into is somebody around the DFW area, which I know would alienate, a lot of the audience, but it's probably the same in a lot of towns. Why are all the venues closing? I heard about 3 or 4 in the past week. I don't, is it mismanagement? Is it just that they can't afford to stay open? I really would like to know what is happening.
We've actually had the opposite here. We've had a couple new ones open up in the last 2 years. We've had 2 really good venues open up here in the Atlanta area. So,
well, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar, Rob, with the Echo Lounge. That's a relatively new. That's where that Halloween show was with Frozen Skull and Dying Fetus and all those types of bands. And that's a Mark Cuban thing, and he's loaded, so he can afford to take the risk and lose a little money. But I think that's the problem. People, it's for the same thing that people get into a band and they think if they start touring, they're going to get rich. And I think people think that if they have a venue and they have a bunch of bands show up,
it doesn't exist anymore.
No,
it just doesn't. There's maybe a handful of metal bands that can live off of touring. I mean, I know some guys in big name bands that have side jobs, that tech for other bands or that do other stuff.
Well, I saw that
it's not what it used to be.
I saw that Reese Scruggs of Havoc is on the road with Machine Head, filling in on guitar, and I know him personally, and he has to play guitar or he can't make the house payment.
Yeah. Well, Steve, let's get into what you've seen recently.
So I think I told everybody about the debacle last week, right? From Kiss.
Yeah. You drove
I mean, that was my most recent was driving to Knoxville to see Kiss and finding out once we got there it was canceled. So 6-hour round trip drive for a burger is pretty much what it was. And then so I've been going to some weird shows lately. So I went from seeing Overkill to seeing the Eagles to seeing Havoc. And who did Havoc play with? Oh, I can't even. Oh, it was. Oh, give me a minute. I can't think of their name now. I just showed the record. Toxic Holocaust and Havoc. I saw them after the Eagles, and then we went to the Jimi Hendrix experience, or the Led Zeppelin, the Jason Bonham Led Zeppelin experience. Which, if that plays anywhere near you guys, go and see it. It's fantastic. it sounds just like Led Zeppelin. I mean, you close your eyes, you're at a Led Zeppelin show. It's amazing. Man, what else have I seen lately? I've been going to a lot of shows. That's all the big recent ones, though. But yeah, the Kiss was. I'm still annoyed by that, the way they handled that. They didn't officially announce it until almost 2:00 in the afternoon that it was canceled for a show that started at 7:30. You know, so
Whoa.
That sucks.
Yeah, and they played their last show, right? I saw that.
yeah, it was on Saturday.
In New
You mean
York.
this band Rage?
Yeah, that's the German band. There's another band, Rage, but I think they're from
Yeah, they're a British
Switzerland?
band.
Or a Brit. Yeah,
Yeah, they were called Nuts, and then they changed their name to Rage during the new wave of new wave British heavy metal period.
No,
It kind of went for that sound a little bit, and then kind of went pop after that. Really, really interesting.
it's
band.
actually a good record.
The first Rage album is.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the Nuts album.
Oh yeah, the first. Oh, actually both
There's
Nuts
two.
albums are good too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just a silly name.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A very silly name.
Yeah. So I guess we'll go round robin here.
Sure.
So I went out to Memphis this past weekend for the sole purpose of helping Richie cater barbecue for Brother Kane. And we had run into Jared and Tony Higby from the Kiefer band. They're also in Brother Kane. And so we went out to do that.
Hey, what's up, Lee?
And Stone Horses opened the show. And I'm talking to this dude in the hall, John Allen, and we're talking about music and barbecue and whatever. And he said, well, I was in a hair metal band back in the day. Or I think he said hair metal. I can't remember. But it piqued my interest, and I waited, and the conversation goes on. He was the drummer of Child's Play.
Another Baltimore band.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm talking to John Allen the whole time, the drummer of Child's Play. He was also the singer of Charm City Devils.
Okay.
And so cool to meet him. Really, really nice guy. We had a good chat. If you like the good old, American blues-based rock and roll, you will dig this. Definitely for fans of Brother Kane and Stone Trip and that kind of thing.
Child's Play just released a repress of their debut album too on
Who
vinyl. The Child's Play, they're doing it direct. I think the band did it themselves.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just saw it the other day online. I can't remember if I ordered it or not.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And then Brother Kane came on, and they were gracious enough to, let us hang out and do all that. And it was cool to meet Damon. And I tried to do a little networking and whatever, but they just killed it as they do. It was the last night of the tour, so they tore it up. Lots of energy. It was really, really cool. And we had killer access to them and got to hang out and talk, which was nice. But I was really excited to talk to Damon and the bass player, Glenn Maxey, about the 30th anniversary reissue of the self-titled first album, because I did the mastering on it from the original tapes. And I was really excited, and it was cool. They were very complimentary of Scott's artwork and stuff. So it was really cool to go full circle and actually meet somebody that you did work for. And I was nervous as a cat because you never know what the band is actually going to think of it. And fortunately, they were pleased with it. And but man, they went on and on about Scott's artwork and all the attention to detail that the label had put into that release. And so they were really happy. And it was cool to like I said, go full circle with that and hear what the band actually thought about the release. So, and watching people get it off the merch table, it was just cool because Greg put a lot of work into it and Scott put a lot of work into it. And it was neat to see the fruits of those efforts with smiling faces buying that stuff. It was really, really fun.
Was it well attended, Rob?
Yeah, it was a small room. I'm gonna say there were a couple hundred people probably, but it was a nice packed little room. The energy was great. The crowd was great. And I'd rather play for 50 or 100 energetic people than 400 people standing around the sides with their arms folded. And Damon and I talked about that, and he was stoked with the energy of the crowd. I would say a couple hundred people. Yeah, it was good. I don't know what we have here that would have been the size of the room. Maybe 3 links or something.
Okay.
And
yeah, that's about a 200 cap room.
Yeah, it was good, man. And the sound was great, dude. Their front of house guy, he crushed it. It really sounded good.
Cool.
And I ran out of steam just like that.
Oh, you ran out of the awkward silence of someone else needs to talk. Well, I guess guess my 2 concert experiences this week are like the tale of 2 cities. I mean, they're completely different. And as much as I enjoyed our Thursday night with Incantation, Suffo, Skeletal Remains, and Stabbing, Saturday we were doing some family stuff and we watched a Christmas parade, and it was early because it gets dark like at 3:00 in the afternoon now or whatever. So in comparison, and we got in, and we didn't have to pay to get into the venue. We went and saw those others, but somebody was putting on a free metal fest at the Haltom Theater in Haltom City, which is a suburb of Fort Worth. So I started looking at and of course, the Queen, she's like, I want to go. I feel great. It's early. And so we did. We just drove over there. I mean, we figured it's free. What the heck? And by the way, I saw Billy Discern, Frazier. I saw the guys from Sound of White Noise. I saw all these people just crawling out of the woodwork. So I guess free, from a social aspect, is way better than having to pay. But it was interesting to see these cats that I hadn't seen in a long time and renew some old friendships. But I mean, the lineup was Asphyxiation Infecta, Cesspool of Corruption, Coropolia, Gutricide, Scrap Pile, Astyanax, Empty Shell, and Chemicost. And I don't know if you're familiar with those bands, but anybody out there really should check them all out, because these are guys that really love to play. And Chaz Buchanan, who owns the Haltom Theater, has done an amazing job in upgrading the sound system. He has a great sound guy now. He's got great lighting. The venue itself would probably hold close to 1,000, if not 1,000. It's an old historic movie theater in North Fort Worth. And dude, it was an actual fun time. It was weird because it was actual. It was, people were having fun, and it was interesting to see music being played, because that people love to play the music. So we had a great time, and yeah, we bought some stuff too, because that's truly how the bands were getting paid, because there was no a fee at the door.
Yeah, and even Zetro said when we were, I don't know if I want to share that. He was not. Let me just say this. He was making sure that we knew to support bands, because he knew the logistics and the inner workings of some things that we were talking about. And he was like, man, you got to go buy the t-shirts. You got to go buy the stickers and the patches. And you just got to take care of those guys, because if they're driving in a van, pulling a trailer, they are starving, and
I can remember seeing, remember our story, our interview with Gene Hoglan, where he said that they literally were driving around in a 77 Camaro with a U-Haul trailer. And that's how Slayer started.
Yeah.
And if nobody bought their t-shirts or their records, and they may be an enigma, because they were a superpower from day one, kind of, so to speak, but they started from, that old adage that even Slayer was a local band at one time. You don't get into the out of the city into the region and onto a tour without people supporting you.
Yeah,
And
he was basically just driving home the point of, yeah, we're Exodus, we've been around, we can kind of make a living, but these other guys, he's like, even some of these big names, they're just struggling. And I think some of the bands have been pretty transparent about, hey, we're making blue collar wages out here with a big name.
I brought it up when I saw him. We saw Overkill on a Tuesday night, and there were maybe 300 people at the show. I mean, that's a band that used to sell out 1,000, 2,000 seaters. You know what I mean? And barely pulling a crowd. It was insane to see that.
Yeah.
But they still acted like there was 2,000 people there.
Oh, it was an amazing show. I was blown away. I mentioned it by how good he sounds. His voice sounds as good as it did in '88.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. And actually, it's funny bringing up Exodus because I was supposed to go tonight. So tonight, Ex Mortis is playing here. And I've been sick all weekend. That's why I keep muting and coughing and stuff. I've been sick for the last 5 days. But it's Ex Mortis is headlining, and then it's Generation Kill, which is Rob Dukes.
And Charlie Belmore on guitar, by the way.
And then Hatriot is the opening band, which is Steve Souza's kids. You know, so I was supposed to see them tonight, but I've been sick, and I don't want to give nobody anything, so I'm not going to go. But I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I was nervous about the Little Rock show for Exodus because I'd been sick, and I finally fought it off a day before we were supposed to leave. But oh man, I get it, and good on you for not.
If I wasn't coughing the way I am, I would do it. But I'm coughing so much, I don't want to be next to a bunch of people just hacking up.
Yeah,
because I'd be pissed if I was standing there, some guy's hacking up a lung right in my ear.
Right. Well. That was a good show, boys. I'm glad I got to sit in for Scott and, see what was up. Let's do a little business here. You can follow me on Instagram at Metal Robs Records, also TikTok, Facebook, all that shit. You can follow the Carcass on Instagram at Carcass John Art, where he will whip up a badass logo or t-shirt design for you. If you don't believe me, just ask me. I'll tell you again.
Well, and also, I will tell you that we're starting to get a little traction on the Crypt, and please join me. You can do it from any place in the world at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. If you live in the Central Time Zone, you're just in time for your drive time entertainment, of which it can be entertaining. I sure miss saying after the Metal Rob show, but we've had that discussion, and but yeah. Come hang out with me for an hour on Friday, but appreciate all the people showing up on the show. And then yes, at Carcass John, I've posted some things and asked for some opinions, especially on this new Rotting Corpse project, which I'm pretty stoked about and very honored that the Texas thrash legends like Rotting Corpse would ask me to do a cover for them. So but now that no one can figure out what color it's going to be, so we need your help.
Well, it's what was I going to say? Oh, if you like my brand of music, melodic hard rock and heavy metal, I do some Metal Rob show playlists on Spotify if you're so inclined. But also go check out Steve's channel, Harmless Rebel, on YouTube, where he has got all kinds of encyclopedic badassery knowledge flowing, and we're glad to have him on the show. So next week Scott will be back in and I will be back out for a while, but I'm glad I got to sit in, and it was fun.
Good to see you, little buddy. Glad
Sorry
you were
I
here.
showed so many CDs at the front.
Oh, that's fine. It's been a long time since you've been on the show.
It's been a while. It's been a month, I guess.
Yeah. And here we are, still going strong.
I'll be back at some point, Scotty. I will. Anyway, anybody got parting shots?
Nope. Thanks for participating, and thanks for showing up, man. That was cool. You said you were going to lay in the weeds and just operate, the controls, and I said, no, set the controls for the for the sun, man. We're going big time.
He had a bunch of pent up energy. He talked the whole time.
There you go.
That's right. That's right. It was fun. I was uncorked. I'm sorry that you missed the Kiss show, man. That really sucks.
Oh yeah, I saw him twice on the tour. I was more disappointed because the first time I went at the beginning of the tour before the pandemic, it was just me. My wife and daughter ended up going out of town, so I sold the other 2 tickets for more than I paid for them, and then went by myself. And then my wife and I saw them the second time they came through. So I was really looking forward to taking my daughter. She's 13. She's never been to a big show like that with all the, the production value and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I've taken her to some small club shows here and there. So she was looking forward to it. So that's the main thing that sucked about it,
Yeah, that does suck.
So
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Well, just wait 6 months. You'll get a chance to see him again.
That probably.
On their 28th tour, farewell tour.
That is it for episode 205 of the Metal Roundtable. You know how we do it. Until next time, metal will prevail. Scott will be back next week. He's better than me.